The monk indicated the way to the smallest house. The roof was covered by dry sods, not thatch, and the structure appeared no larger than Begiloc's own home. Can it be the abbess lives here, the Mother Superior in so humble a dwelling? The monk knocked. "Come." The brother indicated to step into the room, where, with difficulty in the dim light, Begiloc discerned 2 nuns stationed either side of the door. Mixed smoke of wood and tallow made him want to pinch his nose. On one side, a pallet served as a bed over which hung a wooden cross. Nearby, a table bore a leather-bound book. On the beaten earth floor, a fire burned inside a ring of stones, and his eyes followed the wisps of smoke to a hole in the roof and back down to a table covered in documents, beakers, bottle and food, some spices and another tallow candle. The spices were the only luxury in this austere setting. Nor had he seen anyone like Abbess Kühneberg. Though small, she seemed to fill the room. Judging by the lines on her face, she was 50, but the wrinkles were gentle and added to her beauty. Under no delusion, Begiloc caught the shrewdness in the deep eyes weighing up the 2 men from Dumnonia. Can she read our innermost thoughts? No trace of wealth about her in spite of her regal bearing. A wimple covered her head and a hood draped her shoulders. Under it, a burgundy cloak overlaid a grey tunic, at the waist a wooden cross tucked into a belt. Kühneberg smiled and a dimple formed. "Welcome, my sons. I thank you for the haste with which you responded to my summons. After your work, you must be hungry and thirsty." A wave of her hand, and the 2 nuns glided to cut bread and cheese and pour ale from the leather bottle. The abbess murmured words in Latin and made the sign of the cross, the gesture imitated by Begiloc, while Meryn's eyes moved from one to the other before making his own clumsy attempt. "It is plain fare, but God provides for our simple needs." Her throaty voice bore no hint of pride. Curious, Begiloc bit off a piece of cheese, appreciating its tangy saltiness. The eyes of the women never left him, as he tried not to devour the food. No such inhibitions for Meryn. Tearing at his bread, he reached for his beaker. A series of gulps, smacked his lips, and wiped his sleeve across his mouth. Instead, Begiloc savoured the malty taste of the ale, likely twice brewed, not watery like that of the village. When he looked up, he read approval in the lady's eyes. Even so, he refused another measure. In spite of the kindness of the Mother Superior, he was tense and needed a clear head. There must be a serious reason behind our presence, and it bodes ill. Not sharing his reserve, Meryn rubbed his hands together when a nun refilled his cup. He sees no trap in anything. It'll be his ruin one day. Meal over, the abbess reached across the table to select a parchment. "A messenger bore this from overseas." She moved nearer the candle, her eyes roving over the Latin script. She translated, "Holding you above all women in the innermost vault of our hearts, we desire your graciousness to know that after the death of our parents and other relatives, we went to the people of Germany, were admitted into the monastic rule of the venerable Archbishop Boniface, and have become helpers in his labours in so far as our humble incapacity allows." The abbess halted, but her unwavering gaze admonished them for attention. She resumed, "We beg also that you will send on by the bearer of this letter 2 young freedmen named Begiloc and Meryn, whom I, Lull, and my father released on our departure for Rome, and entrusted to my uncle for the welfare of my soul, if this should be their free act, and if they are within your jurisdiction. And if anyone shall unlawfully attempt to impede their journey, we beg you to protect them." Kühneberg paused. "Well, the rest of the letter does not concern you. The sender is Dennerhart, the son of your late lord." The colour drained from Begiloc's face and his head pounded. Heels close together and head bowed, he frowned. A flippant remark occurred to his comrade, but from under his brow Begiloc noted the gravity of the situation dawn on him. Hence Meryn crossed his arms, planted his feet apart, and stared at the nun. "Turn imperious," she said. "Prepare for your departure after daybreak on the morrow." The air heavy. His head began to spin, but Begiloc found the courage to say, "In the letter is writ, if this should be their free act, my lady—" He lifted his head and stared into the grey eyes. Had they grown darker?